The first thing I noticed were the shoes. They didn't belong to anyone in my family. Black leather, polished, expensive. Size 11. They were sitting neatly beside the door to the Mastersuite. My Mastersuite. I stood there in silence, my suitcase still in my hand. The hallway smelled faintly of cologne I didn't recognize. Something sharp, masculine. Cassandra always hated strong cologne. "Gives me headaches," she used to say. Yet the scent floated through my house like it owned the place. I had returned a day early from Zurich. A small surprise. I imagined Cassandra greeting me at the door, pretending to be annoyed at the unexpected, arrival before melting into one of her rehearsed smiles. Instead, there were shoes, strangers' shoes, and a closed bedroom door. Behind it, a faint laugh, a man's voice, low, comfortable. At home, my chest didn't tighten. It didn't explode with anger. No. Something colder happened, a quiet shift inside my mind. Like a chess player noticing the opponent had already exposed their king. I placed my suitcase gently against the wall. No noise, no drama, just listening. The voice inside the room said something I couldn't quite hear. Then Cassandra laughed. That laugh. The one she used when she wanted something. When she was performing, I stared at the shoes again. Strangers, inside my house, inside my bedroom. But what unsettled me most wasn't the man. It was the memory of my son earlier that week. The way he avoided my eyes. The way he said, "Dad, maybe you should come home later than planned." At the time, I thought it was concern. Now I realized something far more interesting. My son knew. And suddenly, this wasn't just betrayal. This was a conspiracy. I didn't open the door. I didn't need to. Some truths are louder when you don't interrupt them. Instead, I stepped quietly outside, closed the front door, and drove away, calmly. My reflection in the windshield looked thoughtful. Not broken, just calculating. 32 years of marriage teaches you things. Cassandra had always been ambitious, always chasing status, luxury, attention. When I built my consulting firm, she adored me. When I sold it for 8 figures, she worshipped me. But admiration built on money is a temporary structure. Remove the foundation, and the house collapses. Recently, I had told her a lie, a deliberate one. I told her my investments had taken a massive hit, that my liquidity was tight, that the next year might require restraint. Her smile that evening had faltered for half a second, just half. But I noticed, and then came the subtle changes. Late phone calls, new perfume, a sudden obsession with the gym, and my son, Ethan, strangely protective of her, answering questions before she could, interrupting conversations, redirecting, almost like a nervous accomplice. That memory replayed in my head as I drove toward the city. Not rage, just curiosity. If Cassandra had built a secret life inside my house, I wanted to see how deep the architecture went. So I hired someone, quietly, a private investigator who specialized in financial and digital tracing. 3 days later, the first pieces arrived. Hotel receipts, phone records, photos. Lots of photos. Cassandra. And the man with the polished shoes. His name was Adrian Holt. Unemployed. 42. Divorced twice. A man who lived off wealthy women. A parasite with excellent posture. But the real surprise wasn't Adrian. It was Ethan. My son appeared in several photos with them. Laughing. Dining. Helping Adrian move boxes into a rented apartment. My investigator wrote one simple line beneath the images. "Your son appears to be aware of the relationship." I stared at that sentence for a long time. Not angry. Just impressed. They thought they were clever. But clever people rarely prepare for patient ones. 3. Rising suspense. The quiet preparation. I went home that evening like nothing had happened. Cassandra kissed me at the door. Soft. Practiced. "I missed you," she said. Of course she did. People miss the things they're afraid of losing. Dinner was pleasant. Ethan joined us. Too cheerful, too attentive. Actors often overperform. I watched them both carefully. 2 conspirators trying not to blink. Inside my mind, the investigation continued. I ordered DNA verification on an old sample Ethan had given during a university medical study. A harmless curiosity. I told the lab. But curiosity has sharp edges. I reviewed the property records next. Adrian's apartment, paid for through a trust account, one that traced back to Cassandra. And Cassandra's funding source? Joint accounts. My accounts. The parasite was eating at my table, and my family was feeding him. But the final confirmation arrived 5 days later. A message from the lab. Simple, clinical, cold. Ethan was not my biological son. I read the report 3 times, not because I was shocked, because I admired the symmetry. 30 years. 30 years of lies. Cassandra hadn't just betrayed my marriage. She had rewritten my bloodline. And Ethan knew. Of course he did. Which meant this little conspiracy wasn't new. It was inherited. A generational deception. I leaned back in my chair and smiled. They thought they were stealing my future. But they had forgotten one small detail. I had already moved it. The confrontation happened at breakfast. Sunlight through the windows. Coffee steaming. Normal, that's the best stage for truth. I placed a small envelope on the table. Cassandra frowned. What's this? Information. Ethan shifted in his seat. I watched his hands. They were shaking. Interesting. Cassandra opened the envelope. The DNA report slid onto the table. Her face drained slowly, color disappearing like ink in water. Explain, I said calmly. Ethan stood up immediately. Dad, listen. No, one word. Enough. Cassandra looked at Ethan, then at me. Her lips trembled. It was before we married, she whispered. Before. 30 years of silence wrapped around that word. I nodded. Yes. She started crying. But I noticed something fascinating. Ethan wasn't crying. He looked afraid. Not of losing me, of losing something else, which meant they still didn't understand what was happening. So I showed them the second document. Property transfer records, my house, my accounts, my assets, gone. Moved months ago into a holding company, one located very far from here. Cassandra read the address, and her hands began to shake violently. Switzerland? Cassandra called me that evening, 71 times. I let it ring, again and again. Finally, I answered. Her voice was shattered. Please, we can fix this. Behind her, I heard Adrian shouting, angry, panicked. Fix what? I asked quietly. Our life. I looked out the window of my villa overlooking Lake Geneva. The water was calm, unbothered. You mean my life, I corrected. She started sobbing. Where are we supposed to go? That question lingered in the air like smoke. I thought of the polished shoes, of the laughter behind the bedroom door, of 30 years of manipulation. Then I said something very simple. If you want to join Thanksgiving, come wash the dishes. Silence. Then the line went dead. Weeks passed. The divorce finalized quickly. Cassandra lost everything. Adrian disappeared the moment the money stopped. Ethan tried calling once. I didn't answer. Some relationships aren't broken. They're revealed. I walk through my villa each morning now. Quiet, clean, mine. And sometimes, when the lake is still enough, I remember the shoes by the bedroom door. The moment everything became clear, not the moment I lost my family. The moment I discovered I never had one. And strangely, that truth felt like freedom.